Hey there, it's Doug. This morning I was talking to a very good friend who has responsibility for managing a team in her business. And we had a conversation about how she can keep her team motivated in doing something at these times when it's just so difficult to focus on anything. So, I thought about that conversation and thought, gee, why don't I organize my thoughts a little bit more and share them with you? So I want to share with you some thoughts that I shared with her on how to keep our team focused and at least somewhat productive during this COVID-19 crisis. And by the way, these things also apply to you individually if you're just a team of one person. And I want to start by saying that the real problem here is that fear is the thing that is driving people. Let's call it what it is. Fear is a primal reaction that we don't control. It's our freeze, fight, or flee response. It's instinctual and can't be avoided. We have to just work through it. And it shows up in different ways: sadness, anger, frustration, depression, and many other ways. And people around you, maybe yourself, are going to be freezing up or running away or fighting or all of the above, and physically, mentally, emotionally, and it amplifies the behaviors that people have, and sometimes they're not behaviors we want to have amplified. So as leaders, we just kind of have to recognize that and be intentional about it and recognize we're in a dramatic and forced change cycle. When dramatic change like this happens, you're likely to experience a host of emotions, not unlike the stages of grief when somebody dies. In my time as a professor, I learned about the Kubler-Ross change curve, which observed that each person undergoing change, and that's us whether we want to or not, undergoes a number of stages. There's shock. We've had that, right? There's denial. Definitely have had that. Frustration, depression. And then you can move up the curve to experimentation, decision, integration, and making change happen. And the problem is that we move through these stages at different speeds, and you can get stuck or you can move backwards. Just the knowledge of knowing this is going on can help you be more patient with your team and with yourself. The key is to move into this experiment and make decisions and integrate and not get stuck in depression, frustration, and denial. And recognize that the stages are natural. They just happen. But what do you do with that, right? So here's some things we talked about that could really help. I looked at what's happening in offices and people's lives now, whether you're virtual already or you're not, is like this pressure cooker. And if we don't acknowledge and give an outlet to the pressure, then your team's going to build up and it's got nowhere to go. And you know what happens when pressure builds up and there's nowhere to go. So if you're still gathering in your office, consider a quick meeting in the morning just to allow people a place to talk and share concerns and check in and get things off their chest. Pick an end time for it so it doesn't take up your whole day. And the way to end it is by getting people to say, what am I going to do to take control and focus? What am I going to get done today? And they can make a commitment and then honor that time. And that means you as the leader do the same thing because you are setting the stage. Now, if you're already virtual, it doesn't mean the pressure is not building. It just means it's not visible. So you can do the same thing with a Zoom meeting or a conference call. Try to have video. If you need to repeat it at lunchtime, do that. Repeat it at the end of the day. How did the day go for you? What's top of mind? Let's acknowledge the humanness in this situation. Yes, this is going to lose productive time. The question isn't whether you're going to lose productive time. The question is how much productive time are you going to lose and at what cost? Number 3, allow for your team to see your human side. If you're not affected by this in some way, then, come on, we all are. Let's just be honest. It's okay to let people know that you're upset and that you're frustrated, just like they are. You're not a robot. So it's okay to share that. Acknowledge that you have some of the same fears. And then as a leader, say, and here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm doing to control my fears. It's not the time for you to pile on and have you say, oh, wow, you know what? We'll be lucky to stay in business. This is not the job of a leader. But you can share what you're feeling and act in a productive way and model the behavior. The other thing I suggested, and my friend John gave this to me a long time ago, it's called FUD. Fight the FUD by giving control. FUD, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's rampant today. One of the ways to fight FUD and fear is to give people a little bit more control. Find a moment where they can have control. It might be as simple as controlling their reaction or giving them a task to do or have something to think about. Control might even be having the opportunity to decide what to do so you feel more in control. I believe our job as leaders is to engage our team and ask the questions in a productive way so the team member can find the answer themselves. When your team is engaged in addressing the problem and making decisions and finding solutions, then they are more in control, they will be more productive, and they'll reduce their stress level just a little bit. And the last thing is not just to shut down when this stuff happens, not to let yourself freeze up. Be patient and play the long game. Lead yourself. I mean, for us to lead others, we must lead ourselves. And sometimes that's the space between your two ears, but that's okay. All we can control is ourselves and our reactions to the world around us. When your team, be patient with yourself. This is going to pass. It will. And when it does, things are going to be different. Absolutely. And we will adapt and we will adjust and life will go on. Business will go on. Don't stop working on your business or yourself. Stay in action. Take care of your families and your communities. Be ready for that time that we settle into whatever the new normal looks like. Many will not heed this advice. They will allow themselves to freeze up and not make any decisions until the future becomes clear. That's a path you could choose, and you could be left behind. Care for yourself and your family mentally, physically, and emotionally. The people in the world, be the best person you can be. Recognize this fear for what it is and embrace it, lean into it, and ask yourself the question, what can I control? And to do a little bit of that taking control. Let me know what you think. Scroll down, leave a comment, or add another piece of advice. We'll see you again soon.